who's going to explain the timeline of an amazing deal that he just got. All of the trials and tribulations, all of the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, the anger management skills that we had to high five. Anyway, this is a really good one. It was interesting to work through and a pleasure to work with you both through it. So without any further ado, here's Jeff.
Thank you. I don't know if I can live up to that introduction.
It was a good intro.
Yeah, that's a great intro. We, I did a bind them. So I probably have twice as many, if not 4 times as many slides as I should have. And probably 10 times as much information as I have for the time given. But we'll see what I have, and if you have questions, throw them out, and we'll answer them whether they're in order of the slides or not. But this is what we have. So, the easiest $1 million we ever spent. Now, to be honest with you, we've never spent $1 million, so it's also the hardest $1 million we've ever spent. I did in my past life have $1 million budget one time, but that's not really quite we spending $1 million. So that's what it is. Our buy box. We were looking for 4+ units northwest of York because that's with the area that we live in, and we wanted something close to where we live, Shiloh or Dover, and we're looking to get out of the city. Almost all of our current previous investments were in the city. So our target areas were Lancaster and York County, and we're looking really to get out of the city. The plan, acquire a multifamily with 5 or more units. We wanted to refinance our existing real estate owned. We wanted to use as little cash out of pocket as possible. We wanted to maintain a debt to equity ratio of 75% or less. Of course, that's what the bank wanted too, so that was like I had much choice there, right? We're going to pay off the existing floating rate commercial loan that we had that was at 8%. We're looking for 7% or lower. We wanted 30-year amortization, and we wanted a positive cash flow. All great things if you're trying to buy a multifamily real estate investment. For leads, we were using MLS emails from 3 different real estate agents. Casey being one of them, she knew, we told her up front that we're working with other real estate agents, so there was no conflict of interest there. We were transparent the whole way. Investments. I don't know why I put the word investments there. Oh, investment real estate groups like this were some of our contacts. We were looking at commercial properties, multi-unit properties, garage and storage units, FSBOs. We were doing a few targeted mail emails. We didn't do a whole lot of that, to be honest. We're also looking at realtor.com and Zillow.com for properties for sale. You look like you have a question.
Oh, we do, yeah.
Okay. These are, Casey said she sent us 36 emails, but that can't be right because she was sending us daily emails, and it's been since October, so there's something missing there. But we had 98 unique properties, so you can see these are all the kind of properties that were at the very top of our funnel. I'm sure you're all familiar with what a sales funnel is. This is kind of what we threw in the top. I can find a couple properties here that I'll talk about. This Beaufort one in Gettysburg. The funny part is I can't find Tiffany on this list.
I know, I saw that too.
But there's another one here in Dover that we put a bid on. I know I saw it here. Anyway, you can see 99 properties basically that we evaluated.
Iron Ridge is up there too.
Iron Ridge is up there, yeah.
Yeah.
So after going through that 99 list plus the other list from the other real estate agents and FSBOs and everything, these are the suspects that we came down to. We narrowed that list of 99 properties down to basically 7 or 8 suspects. This one is in Iron Ridge Road. It's an 11 unit. I think it's 11. This one is the square of New Oxford, and it's totally gutted. So it's a major rehab project. This one is these 4 duplexes that are located, I don't remember where it's located actually. It's on 2 acres. This one is Davidsburg Road, 3705. This one is triple net property that we found in Columbia. This one is a 4 unit that we found in Columbia, and this is a 10 unit in Dover. You can see these are just some of the properties that we actually did deal analysis on, about trying to evaluate income and expenses. There's a dozen of them there, plus there's a whole lot more pages down there that you can't see. So these are the prospects that we made offers on. This was 862 Iron Ridge, 525 Franklin. I can't even remember the address now. 3711 Tiffany Drive in Dover. I had a mind block for a second. And then this is the 3705. Let's back up a second. How do I back up? Okay, so, real quick, I guess, this one they were asking 1.1 million. When we evaluated it, we figured it was worth about 700,000. We made an offer of 705, thinking that sounded better than 699, but they counter offered with 1.1 million $50,000. So that 1.15.
More than the rest.
More than they were currently listed at. This property has been listed since October, if I remember correctly. We made an offer in November. We had been the only party that had looked at the property even, so anyway, I keep an eye on it, and it's been price reduced 3 times, and now it's currently at 950,000. And one of the other real estate groups I've invested in, I work with, we've talked about it being a deal, and it stinks. And so it's still stinking, and it's going to stink more before it goes anywhere. This one was listed for 850,000. She had ideas about how much it was worth because it was a triple net lease and this, that, and the next thing. We offered her 890,000 the first time, and she countered back with 780. Go ahead, 3-bedroom house, a 2-bedroom house, and 4 efficiencies. So it was a nice little, like, we called it the family compound while we were talking about it. And it was all rented to a single nonprofit who wanted to use it for,
Well, no, we later found out it wasn't actually a nonprofit, remember?
oh yeah, it wasn't actually a nonprofit, but their mission was to support the mothers and children
Yes.
that needed housing because
It was
of single.
Aging out
out-
of the foster
foster
care
system.
system.
So, so we made an offer on that for $699. She said no, and came back and countered with like $790, and we came back and countered with $750. She eventually accepted our $750 offer, and we started doing due diligence on the property and discovered that the tenant wasn't performing to the lease. It had automatic escalation of rent. So like the first year the rent was $7,000, the next year it was $7,500, the next year it was supposed to be $8,000. They were like almost to the end of the second year and still paying the first year's rent amount. and the tenant was supposed to be providing insurance on the property, but he never got his insurance because he wasn't in operation yet. So the owner was still paying for their insurance, but she didn't put any of that information in the numbers when she was selling the property. So therefore, we just decided the property was being misrepresented, and she, we asked for documentation, and she wasn't coming up with the documentation, and she wasn't willing to negotiate any lower than the $750, so we just said, we're done, and backed out. And that one fell apart. This one was listed for $900,000, which I thought was a fair price, but we made an offer on it. I think we offered $10,000 over list, and they got an offer that was $50,000 over list, and I just couldn't justify going that much higher, so we lost that one. And then this is the subject property we're going to talk about more in depth as we move forward. So I told you all about this house. Here's the 3-bedroom, here's the 2-bedroom, and then here's the 4 efficiencies. That was really cool, and I still wouldn't mind owning that one, but here you can see it was a triple net lease, and here was the rent per month was $7,000, supposed to be $7,200, and then $74.26. He said, oh, I had some major medical emergencies, and I was this, that, and the next thing, and I just forgot. It's like, okay, well, forget that value in the property. So then this one is the one we like. It says 3703 to 3710 Tiffany Drive. It's actually 10 units. There's 5 first floor, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and 5 second floor, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. This is the rent roll that they were sharing, and it's got an annual rent of $128,000, monthly rent of about $10,000. It looked okay. We did some comparison shopping to check what rents could be, and the rent in that area, the median rent is actually about $1,275 for a 2-bedroom house. So we'll be increasing those rents as the lease goes around, and we'll probably, I don't know if we'll go the whole way to $1,275, but we'll try to go at least halfway there. This is their expense list. If you look at this, here's their income, here's the management fees, placement fees, legal. I know this is a little hard to read, but basically it comes out to $52,000 of expenses, which gives us a net operating income of $84,000. The thing, when I looked at that, immediately the first thing that jumped out to me is there's no CapEx expenses. They didn't list any expenses. There's no way that they did the repairs that they're telling us they did for $6,500. So here is my analysis page of that specific property. You can see here we list all the rents. They actually charge for sewer reimbursement and trash reimbursement and an admin fee of $12 per tenant. So that helps increase the rent amount some. It still doesn't get it up to market rate, but it helps with the income. I looked up the HUD fair market rents. For a 2-bedroom is $1,230. So that also helps reinforce that we can raise the property rents. When I went through and did our analysis of the expenses, this is what I started getting for all of the expenses. Here's where we put in 5% reserve for CapEx expenses, because there's always CapEx expenses. If they're not this year, they will be in 10 years, and you need to create some order for that. One of the great things I discovered, one of the lessons I learned, when you're shopping for things, make sure you get 3 bids. Always make sure you get 3 bids. There, if you look at the their, right here, their, property insurance is $5,800, okay? And if you look here, I have $4,450 for the property insurance. I went out and got bids from 4 different providers, and one of them came back with $4,455, and it's a local, reliable company called Lidditz Mutual in Lidditz, PA. So I don't know, the insurance.
I got one right now, fighting.
I'm sure the insurance adjuster can tell us all about what's good or bad.
Every one of
You
them.
fight all of them.
Every one of them,
The, part of the key to that is I'm not planning to use them anyway unless it's a catastrophic loss. So
Exactly right, yeah.
we can rely on that. So, any questions so far? Am I dumping too much information too fast? So after the contract was signed, we said, okay, what all do we have to know about this to do our due diligence to make sure we're satisfied with the property? And this is our list of due diligence items. We want copies of the signed leases, we want detailed rent roll, we want inspection reports, we want a list of the animals, we want renter's insurance documentation. We want to know what recent capital improvements are done. And I should have taken this as a much bigger red flag than I did, but it's bad enough as it was. So they list new windows, new sewer main pipe, power washed all the units, removed a ton of trees around the units, fixed and replaced gutters throughout the complex, and cleaned up the landscaping. Anybody have a concept of how much all of those things cost? Anybody want to guess? My 30-second estimate is we're talking about $60,000 there, if not more. You know, they did 18, yeah. No, they did like 30 windows, right? So $500 per window, there's $15,000 right off the top, right? And so they didn't have that listed under repairs on the previous one, so I called Casey. Poor Casey. Casey called the selling agent and said, where's all of the expenses for these capital improvements that you're telling us we did? Casey?
Oh, that doesn't count because the seller paid for it directly and the management company didn't pay for it, so it doesn't matter.
That was our face.
How long has the seller agent been working?
Everything's okay for you guys? Yeah, wonderful. You're welcome.
So, and then the second big red flag, when we do these properties, you know, these properties all have to be reported on a Schedule E or an 8825 to the IRS, right? Nobody lies to the IRS, theoretically. So we always request copies of the 8825 or the Schedule E for the subject property. They said no. Like, okay. So, red flag number 2, when somebody says no, figure out what it is they're hiding and why they're not sharing. Because there's a reason. And that reason, of course, would be all these property, the capital equipment expenditures that they did. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else important there to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, this was about the point they got pissed off.
Yeah, this is one point they got pissed off, we got pissed off. So, I looked at the roof, and I thought, well, that roof doesn't look very good, but I'm not a roofing expert. So we called for a roofing inspection. The roofing inspector gave us an 18-page report. So this is just the beginning of some of the things he saw.
Yeah.
Missing end caps, underlayment substrate damage, poor repairs, missing shingles. what do they call that, rubber roofing, not seamed correctly. In the attic, we found a half dozen broken trusses. You can see 2 broken trusses there. And of course, mold, and broken boards. And so we are kind of like, okay, what the hell are we gonna do about this? In addition to that, when we started walking around, they had all these staircases out the back of the property on the second floor units that were the second means of egress. She wouldn't walk on one. I stepped out on one and she had her phone on 911 because she wasn't sure if I was gonna fall down or not. They were rotten beyond belief. I believe that those stairs were original to the build in 1984, and they were unsafe. So, we had this list of issues: roof, mold remediation, replace insulation. I should also qualify this by, we were not allowed to see the property until they had a signed agreement of sale, because they didn't want the tenants to know that it was up for sale. So, once we got the agreement of sale and went in and started looking around at all of the units, I was a little disappointed with the inside of the units because they left us believe that they were in a lot better condition than they were. 4 of the units were really nice, had been rehabbed and refinished. The other 4 units are really outdated. One of the tenants since has told me that she's had that carpet for 13 years. So, and she's been living there for 13 years. So, anyway, these were the major repair issues that we came up with. The roof mold remediation. As part of the mold remediation, they were removing all the blown-in insulation. So the blown-in insulation had to be replaced. Because they didn't want the renters to know it was for sale, they weren't really keen on us bringing in roofers and mold remediators and stuff like that would tell the tenants, hey, there's a mold problem, for number one, right? So we had to use the inspection report to get estimates of repairs. The estimates, the lowest of all of the estimates added together was $50,000. The total of all of the largest ones added together was $288,000. Casey went to the selling agent and said, this is what we're finding on repairs. And he said, I don't care, quit this dog and pony show, what do you want? It's like, we're trying to accommodate your desire to keep this confidential, so you can't be acting like that. So we replied back saying that we wanted them to escrow $288,000. What choice did we have? I'm not taking on all that risk myself, right? So they told us to terminate the contract. So we terminated the contract. I have dates later if you want to see more about dates, but here's the timeline. So we started searching October 2024. We made an offer on Iron Ridge in December. We made an offer on Franklin in December. We had the counter offers in the agreement of sale. Due diligence, we discovered the tenant wasn't performing to the lease, so we can't terminate that one. Seller was unwilling to share 8825, we terminated the lease. We did the offer on Davisburg. And then this moves us up to basically the beginning of May, when we saw Tiffany and put our offer in on Tiffany. They were asking 1.35. Casey, I really like Casey, you haven't figured that out. Casey working with us. Casey called him up when we were working on the offer, I guess before we did the offer, and said, we're preparing an offer. I should let you tell the story. I don't know exactly what she said to the seller agent, but I believe the gist of it is, we're preparing an offer. What do we need to do to be competitive? Which I think is real estate agents speak for, what are you getting in the way of offers? How much money do we need to make? And their response was
Go above ask.
above ask. So we went $5,000 above ask. I didn't know what to do. I mean, there's such a thing as a good deal, a great deal, and a super deal. I think if this is in the good deal range, it's certainly not a great deal or a super deal, but it'll be okay, I think. It was terminated on 6/27. We received the appraisal on 6/28. A lot of good it does us then, right? And it came back at 1.36. So at least the appraisal covered. Unbeknownst to us, while this was all going on in the background, Casey's communicating with the seller's agent. And it's like, she tells us, they're taking care of all those repairs. And it's like, well, tell them if they take care of all those repairs, we're interested in consummating the contract. So she called them back and they said, okay, give us an offer. So we did a new agreement of sale on July 14th. The original settlement date was July 17th. If that gives you any kind of frame of how this is all going down. We got our bank commitment, because we really had the bank commitment on the 27th. She had already given us a term sheet. The commitment is contingent on the appraisal coming back. And then the appraisal came back, so we knew we had the commitment. Of course, by the time we got the new agreement of sale, then I called the bank up and the bank said, well, now that one's expired. So you have to do it again. So then Casey's putting in the contract contingent on bank approval, and they're like, why do you have to have bank approval? You already had an approval on the loan. It's like, well, we did until you dicked around with the contract. So we got a new bank commitment on the 21st. 7:30, we did the inspection of the work. It was incomplete. So I'm calling it, we're supposed to settle on the 31st. So I'm calling my title agent and saying, okay, the work's not done. And of course, they're like hammering, because I don't know what was their rush to get the settlement done so quickly?
They didn't want to prorate rents.
Well, I think I should have told that story. When we did the second one, we tried to settle August 15th. And they called back and said, hey, can we settle the end of the month or the beginning of the month so we don't have to prorate the rents? It's like, okay, I guess we can do that. Although, what are you gonna do? Give me a plan of how you're gonna manage the checks that come in the mail and how you're gonna manage the payments that you're gonna get in that time frame when you own the building on the 31st and I own it on the 1st. It's gonna be too late for them to send us. And they said, oh, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. It's your money. We'll make sure you get it.
Right.
I'm still trying to communicate with, they have look at it rain.
Yeah.
They have two rents. Two of the tenants have told us that they sent a MoneyGram and a check. And they have not acknowledged receipt of either yet. And they're pissing me off. One of the
It's only the
tenants.
6.
Huh?
It's only the 6.
I said, I'm gonna send you the late fees, and then that got a storm letter from the seller, like, just to be clear, you should be paying us for administering these checks, not charging us for late fees. Okay. So,
And then the company tells us that they didn't have any information on us beforehand.
right, like, we didn't know where to tell the tenants to send it. It's like, well, if I was selling, I would not tell the tenants anything until the day of settlement anyway. So I was trying to honor your desire for confidentiality. Anyway, so we're still trying to get checks in the mail. We're still working on dryer and bathroom events. Now, my opinion, if you're doing mold remediation and dryer and bathroom vents are part of the reason that the mold is there, doesn't mold remediation include rectifying the root cause of the problem and fixing the vents?
That sounds like it would cost more money for the seller though.
Bingo! Bingo! So, lessons learned. Think twice or 5 times if they won't share property IRS 8825 or Schedule E, figure out what they're hiding. So that's in number one. Lesson number two, don't settle before the work is complete. I don't care if you escrow it or not, because now, as far as they're concerned, they're done with it. And now I'm suddenly the guy in charge of project managing this thing. And of course, the company, I won't mention their name, the
But we
company,
won't use them again.
the construction manager for the company that they're using doesn't want to deal with me from Adam, because I'm not the one that they started working with. I'm not the one that said, oh, that ignored the vent. He sent them a picture of the bathroom vent saying this should be repaired, and the management company ignored him, and the owner ignored him, so he didn't do anything with it. So I'm like hammering him for these outstanding issues that he doesn't feel responsible for. So anyway, inspect the completed work, because when we went up there on the 30th, the day before settlement,
And they claim to be done.
the trusses still weren't fixed. There were still broken trusses. The vents weren't fixed. The insulation wasn't done. They told us they were going to start the insulation on Monday, and it was going to be done by Wednesday. Wednesday I did the inspection, and they had one done. Out of 5 attics, they had 1 of 5 done. On Friday, they did a half of one because their machine kept breaking. On Monday, they had another one done, and then finally they completed all of them yesterday. So it's like it took them a week to do 1.5, and then the other 3.5 they finished in 2 days.
Did they fix the trusses?
Yes.
They have now.
They have fixed the trusses. The roofer was pissed off at me when I called him out, but when we started looking at him and I pointed him out, he was like, oh yeah, I should have done that. The problem was, because I gave them the inspection report, the owner gave him the inspection report, but didn't specifically specify all of the broken trusses in the attics, and they only fixed the first one they saw, not realizing that there were a half a dozen of them. Now don't ask me why a half a dozen roof trusses get broken. How?
Did we mention that they went the cheapest possible route?
Yeah.
Tree looking at right has one of those tons of trees that they cut
Yeah,
down.
one of those
Fell.
tons of trees.
Yeah, exactly. And so lesson 3 is inspect the completed work. And then lesson 4 is don't close on a multifamily at the end of the month, plus or minus 5 days, unless you escrow 50% of the rent from the seller's proceeds, so that you're both taking 50-50 risk on them hanging the money in the mail. So, I guess that's all I have slide-wise.
I gotta ask you a question, Jeff. How long have you been doing this now? Seriously, how long have you been in this business?
Well, did I ever tell you this story when I was about this tall? I went with my dad to help him rehab an apartment building,
No,
and I used to help by spilling paint on the floor and nailing 2x4s down to the floor. So it is really, it's the family business.
Okay, so with that in mind, when you started in business we'll say in 20s, in your 20s, would you have done this? Would you have gone after this particular type of project?
No, there's no way in heck I could afford to do a project like this in my 20s.
And now you've learned all this, are you gonna do any more?
Don't tell her.
Her knows.
Her knows better. Yeah, well, and actually, I have a
He's already
line.
looking.
I have a line on an 8 unit in Marietta and a 6 unit in Columbia.
Wow, you
That
really
he
like that.
discovered in the midst of this and went, okay, that one fell through. Did we
Well, yeah.
go with this?
The day after this fell through, I'm considering writing up offers on these other projects. Like, there were 4 buildings that I found out the day this all fell through, and I'm like, let's go, right? Although, like, 2 of them just weren't weren't, they wanted too much. The seller wants too much. And then the other two are these Columbia and Marietta, and he's trying to structure a 1031, and he doesn't have his property yet, so that may take 2 years before they actually become available.
Amazing. Amazing. What was the final purchase price and what, financing did you get for a 10 unit for 30-year?
So, the final, we actually never changed our bid price. And that's kind of interesting question. Right before they accepted our offer,
The first time or second time?
the first time, the seller's agent and the owners wanted to have a meeting with us because they wanted to talk to us. And so Casey set up a Zoom call between all of us. And the long and the short of what they wanted to know is they wanted to get a comfort factor that we were capable of going the whole way to settlement and that we weren't gonna back out, which is really hilarious considering they terminated the contract. Financing wise, it's a commercial loan, just like most commercial, well, you can't really, on a 10 unit, you have to get a commercial loan. We financed 1.55 million. We wrapped all of the collateral of 80% of the properties that we had, which we had to get those all appraised. They were all appraised before the first deal fell down. And so we had about $817,000 worth of value in those properties, and we owed $200,000 on, no, we owed $177,000 on them. So we wrapped those in with this property, and that got us up to an estimated value of 2.5 million. And then we got 75% of that, and actually it's like 73.5% or something is the debt to equity ratio. 5-year fixed rate at 6.8%. And then after that, it's gonna float or recast, whatever. Depends when we get there what it is. And normally they want 20-year amortization, but for an extra fee, which I think the fee worked, it was $3,800. Is that a half a point? Might have been a half a point. No, it's less than half a point. Anyway, for $3,800, they extended it to 30-year amortization instead of 20-year amortization. And so,
Would the numbers have worked okay with 20-year?
yes, yeah, and that's part of the reason why they considered it. If you remember way back there at the very beginning, use as little cash out of pocket as possible. So basically, we paid for the appraisals, which were a half a dozen appraisals because we were wrapping in already existing owned real estate. We paid for inspection. I think all said and done, we put about $10,000 out of pocket paying for things, not for the down payment, because it got all wrapped into it. And our cash flow we calculated to be about debt. I always forget this term. The bank wants to make sure that your cash flow is 1.25 the payment. So our
Debt service coverage ratio.
debt service coverage ratio is about 1.27. So it should cash flow well for us. The other thing in this thing, when we do our calculations, I always include 5% for property management and 5% for maintenance and 5% for reserves. And of course, we manage our own properties, so that 5% is really ours and it's part of our cash flow. The maintenance we should be okay for a while. Cash reserve, since they put new roofs on and new steps, we shouldn't have any major capital expenditures for a while. I'm counting on that freaking roof lasting for the 20 years that we plan on owning the building. The roofer and the mold remediation guy both laugh at me when I get mad at them because I want to make sure that their work is good, but anyway.
Do you remember how much the appraisal for this building was?
$32.55.
I haven't had one done in a number of years.
Best unit.
Yeah, he only looked at the
Yeah.
4 best units.
And they
I'm
looked
like,
at
aren't you gonna look at all the units? And the seller said, told the seller's agent, and he told her that we were pushing to get a lower appraisal because we wanted the appraiser to see all of the units instead of just looking at the 4 best units. The appraiser said, well, the income will justify how good or bad the other units are. It's like, yeah, you're kind of right about that, but these other 4 units suck compared to these first 4 units that you looked at.
The one with the back door kicked out?
Yeah, one of them, I can't believe the property management company lets this shit go on. Somebody broke in the door and the door jamb is shot. I talked to the tenant and he says, yeah, I can't open and close that door.
No.
It's like, it's a fire, it's a life safety. You know,
I hope he
how
doesn't have to
safe
go
is-
out the deck and go down the wooden stairs to get out.
Well, they've been replaced now.
Yeah, all the wooden stairs have been replaced, and I don't think they're in code either.
No.
But
I'm sure they are.
they're,
The roof trusses should have been replaced, they're not, kind of, you can't repair roof trusses.
I was told that you can, that you have to make sure you
Maybe in that township.
top to bottom,
You would think you could,
Tie-
both sides.
yeah, you have to tie it on both sides, and they had to put in a whole bunch of nails, like every 4 inches they have to nail it, and
I don't see, it should be just as strong.
should be.
Yeah.
Half of the apartments don't have any smoke detectors. And the ones that had smoke detectors had 1 or 2, and there should be 3 or 4 to my count. So like, one of Jeff's projects, go in and install 30 freaking smoke detectors.
Do you do the 10-year,
Yeah.
the $60 a piece times 30?
Well, yeah, except if you buy them in a 10-pack at Lowe's, they're $39.99, I think.
That's what I was looking at. Are they better than just buying, I don't know, did they just seem, it's more
People
expensive.
don't take out the batteries as quickly.
Yeah. Although we had one throw one
I
away.
walk into a unit, and the battery's sitting on top of it. It's like, that's really not gonna do much that way.
We're worried about not having a way to get them to allow us to come and check how I guess we're a little freaked out about how the apartment's gonna look because of what we already experienced with people that were in our apartments. So we added to our lease that we would come in and inspect, that they had to allow us to come in to inspect smoke detectors and replace batteries every 6 months.
Yep.
And that it's just in there, that they have to let us in. And then that way, in that time, we can look around and see if they're destroying things.
Yep.
Our policy is to go in about 3 months prior to lease renewal.
Right?
We need to evaluate the property, identify any potential problems, while I'm determining, do I want to renew these people? If they don't want to let us in, no.
He's terminated. So I'm, you can read a lot of different people's opinions and operating procedures on that. Because all of our properties have been in the city of York, city does an inspection every 2 years. So we've kind of relied on the every 2-year thing. And because they're city properties, I probably put up with more hoarding and less taking care of properties than I should or I would if it was my house. Yeah, not that my wife and I don't collect a whole lot of stuff ourselves, but, yeah, I'm probably more tolerant than a lot of people are. But I don't want a full-time job going out and checking 34 units every 3 months to verify that they're taking care of the place, so.
When are you retiring
No.
from your full-time job?
At this point, I think another 18 months. That'll be my 65th birthday, so I think I'm gonna hold out to 65. That could change at any time. Last Thursday, my business unit was sold to another company. So now I'm working for an entirely new company. To be fair though, the business unit went with me. So the 4 bosses above me in the chain of command all went too. So I'm far enough down the level, I don't really expect anything to change. But, you know, they
Things
could
like
say
our
the wrong thing.
insurance
They could say the wrong thing and piss me off, and I'll say, you know, I don't need this job. I really don't need the job anymore.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the work I do, and I enjoy the people that I work with, and my boss is a reasonable person, and so, yeah.
I think this is, it's very eye-opening for me. I don't envy you.
What would you
But,
say the difference is from your first deal, like the first rental that you bought? Like that first experience, like where I'm at, I'm on my first.
Our first
And
was
the
so
zeros at the end.
different. Our first was so different though.
Oh, yeah, our first property was like 1982, was it? 84? It was a 2-unit duplex. We moved in one, lived in one, and rented the other.
So basically paid for.
Right.
Basically, all we had to do was put in like $300 a month to pay for utilities and stuff because it wasn't split at that time. It was $40,000, so the mortgage payment was like $300 or $400. The other piece of the deal I should probably be transparent about is we bought it from my dad. So there wasn't any seller, there weren't any agents involved, although before we bought it from him, we went out and looked at 4 other properties that were very similar to his. He was like, I'm not telling you what to pay for it or how much it's worth. You need to decide that on your own. So we went out and he drug us through these other 4 properties. He was a real estate agent at that time. Drug us through these other 4 properties and showed us comps, and we used that to come up with the price. And of course we put 5% down, so that was real convenient. And we had that property, I don't know, 20 years at least, I think. We moved to Ohio and back. We had a property manager that ran it for a while.
Property managers.
Yeah, that was-
Sorry if there's any property managers here.
That's when we started the agency.
It was.
And the first time I met the property manager that was running this property, I thought, oh, she's real nice, maybe I should consider them. Before I was done in the first unit, I knew for a fact that they were,
Not going to stay.
That she was the face and
she was the
not-
pretty face
she
and they
did not
weren't
have
worth shit.
any-
So, once again, they reinforced that I do not want a property manager. So, thank you very much for your attention. If there's any more questions, I'm glad to answer them. I probably am a little bit more transparent than I should be telling our whole life story, but the next deal, the next investment deal we did would have been after we bought 4 or 5 different houses in between. Personal houses, and then we bought a 4-unit in York in 2017. That deal went pretty well. We pissed off the owner and the seller's agent because the appraiser came back with a price that was like $7,000 lower than the agreement of sale. And so she just kind of like had a fit. The only thing I remember about the settlement table was her bitching about the appraising agent and the fact that she had to reduce the price $5,000 or we weren't gonna buy it. So,
And that we couldn't have keys because.
yeah, because she wouldn't give us a master key because it was the same master key as her office.
Had you not mentioned that?
Yeah, why did you
we
say
would
that?
not, you know, so she ran out and got keys from each of the tenants to
And
make
made
us a
duplicates.
copy of the key. It's like, you know, this was like at settlement,
Anyone else ready for their pie?
She, the other piece about that master key, I'm not a locksmith, but I have enough background to know that all I have to do is pull that handset out and take it to a locksmith, and he can make me a master key. Right? It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. No.
Do you ever look at investing in syndications or anything? You look to divest from only?
We have looked at a couple syndications. Because it's been the family business and my dad has always been a property manager, I kind of feel like property management is one of our strengths. I don't do as well on the acquisition side of it as some people do, I think. I don't know, Casey can tell you maybe.
But even just to invest in a syndication, being
Yeah.
a limited partner.
So we've looked at a couple of those, and my big challenge is not really having a whole lot of history and knowledge on the syndicators and the fact that they all want $50,000 or $100,000. We have invested in this company called Roots, which I don't know how many of you know anything about them. Look them up. They're based in Atlanta, I guess, and they have a mission to help renters and to help real estate investors make money. But their model is really double-sided, so they, as part of the process, they help the renter generate money for down payment to buy their own place. So we've invested, I'm thinking it's like $1,000 or $2,000. They have a real small buy-in, and so we purchased some of their stock, and it's not really stock because it's not an SEC
We've
approved.
invested.
Yeah, we've invested. And so I think so far we've gotten like 6.34% return on our investment on that. So we do that more because we're about their mission than really for the profit in the syndication. So it's kind of, I know this is going to sound really bad, but the $1,000 we put in, I've made stupid decisions that cost us more than $1,000. So, you know, if I lose all that money, I will not be disturbed in any way. And I felt like the mission was good and important, so that's why. But that's the closest we've gotten to investing in a syndication. Have you?
I have not. I've looked into it, but, I mean, I'm sure with this property now with 100% bonus depreciation coming back into play, you do cost segregation even if it's only kind of manually without paying a third party to do it, to get that write-off in the first year.
I've never figured that out. My CPA takes care of all that crap, so, and I'm not real happy with my CPA at this point, so. We've had that discussion before too, so, anyway.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you, Casey, for all of your hard work. You earned that commission.
You did. You went above and beyond.
Thank you, guys.